this. And then we also are able to do one-on-one exchanges when we get people plugged in and get them up and rolling. Oftentimes that is related to when they are scheduled to do their employee survey. And so if we have to do a quick start, often I'll do those one-on-ones so that they understand why we're here, what is the purpose of the program, and the benefits, of course. I'm happy to see that Tom Harrington is here. He is a veteran, and he is the TRP king of Intuit. I'm going to let you talk for just a minute, Tom. I'm going to put you on the spot because I never can quote it accurately. I just know you handle everything but India.
And you got that exactly right. So right now, one of my big challenges right now is Toronto. We're moving our Mississauga office to the Toronto office, and that's been a challenge that's taken quite a bit. Working on London too as well. But I think one of the biggest things that's really kind of a highlight that I'm launching right now is I've launched a near demand service here in the Bay Area for our shuttles from the South Bay and just a region. And it's a great solution. It's a great service. It can be literally funded 100% by Intuit for our employees if folks do their pre-ordering correctly. But believe it or not, you build it and they won't necessarily come. So I'm struggling with some challenges with that right now. But thanks for giving me the credit here, and fun stuff going on.
Well, thank you, Tom. We are a network of people that are really all in the same boat, but we all have our own little dinghies we're trying to row. Tom is an amazing source of information. We also have, I see Alex Chavez from the U of A has joined us. She is with the transportation department. I believe your new counterpart is with us, correct, Javier?
Yes, I am. Nice to be here. Glad to meet everybody.
Excellent. Glad you're with us. And if I get your title correctly, you are a sustainability coordinator. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes. So one thing, depending on who you are and what company you're coming to the table from, this is an effort to help protect our air quality in Pima County. All of us can give thanks, and Tom, because you're in different markets, you can speak to this, and Brent being part of Amazon. When you are in different markets, the rules of the game are quite different. And we want to underscore the fact that in Pima County, we are in attainment per the EPA. We are only in attainment by a little bit. But because we are, the administrative lift and the rules of the game are quite different. So for example, any of you who have surveyed in the last year or even since the pandemic, when there is a need for an extension because of operational challenges or you've had staffing changes, we are able to grant those extensions. We are able to make the decision to be flexible and work with you. In Maricopa County, they have to take all those decisions through their regional task force, which is monitored by their board of supervisors, and they have to vote on whether you get an extension or not. And also, if you do not meet your set goal of 60% participation for your survey, they have teeth in their program and they can start to fine you $300 a day for not meeting your goal. So, being a proud Tucsonan, I'm going to say we want to always be not Phoenix. So they are 6 times larger than us, and they have greater, I'm going to say restrictions, but they have to have stronger enforcement because of what they're up against up there. So with that, we're going to get rolling, and I'm going to share my screen, show my slides. I guess before I do that, does anybody have any questions before we get rolling? Give a shout out. No? All right. Oops. All right, can everybody see my screen?
Mary, we're not seeing your full slideshow yet.
Just did this. So stop sharing. Crystal is my seeing eye dog, so I can do this correctly.
I'm not doing very well.
And I have glasses on. Yeah, how about that?
That's perfect. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so we're here because we're going to have a TC training, and we're going to talk about the travel benefits of the TRP. We talked a little bit about how we are Tucson and we are not Phoenix. Our program has been in place since 2000, so we are 21 years old. For those of you who are just now new TCs and joining us, we are going to go over the deliverables and some of the benefits of this program. There we go. So we have positive outcomes of travel reduction. We have seen in the news that there are many benefits of those that are working from home. This program is driven by the travel reduction ordinance in both the county and the city of Tucson. Any employer that has 100 FTEs or more are required to participate in this program. And the city has an ordinance, the county has an ordinance, and the outlying jurisdictions participate through intergovernmental agreements. The idea is that we are protecting our air quality standards and we want to reduce emissions. When we went into the pandemic, we saw lots of news features about how in different countries or even in Seattle, the highways were empty because people were working from home and the air quality got better and congestion was lessened because we had less cars on the road. So when we look at what our benefit is, when we have all these large employers that are able to disseminate information, encourage people to either telework or share the ride, it is a benefit to our entire community. So we want to have fewer motor vehicles on the road and cleaner air for everyone. So when we look at motor vehicle emissions, that is the greatest source of pollution in our region. And for every 1.14 miles we drive, we put 1 pound of pollution into the air. Now, good news is we have a lot of different types of vehicles, especially now there's a big race on who can create hybrid vehicles or electric vehicles. There's also, as part of the infrastructure bill that some of you might be aware of that's coming out of Washington, D.C., there is significant dollars being allocated such that both public transportation and fleets can be converted to electric or even CNG. So the question becomes, what can we do as these transportation coordinators, as a group, that we can help reduce emissions and encourage people to choose alternative modes of transportation? Oops. Sorry about that. So what we want to do is reduce the number of cars on the road. And by doing so, we work with these large employers, such as all of you. And as an organization that is over 100 FTEs, not 100 employees, we look to you to be able to coordinate this effort. So there are deliverables based on the program. And when we connect with each of these organizations, we ask that they do 4 things. You have to assign a transportation coordinator, which is one or many of you who are with us today. There is a need to complete what we call the air survey or the activity inventory report, which we do in the spring. So we are scheduled to do that in April this year. You need to share information with employees about alt modes, whether that is through emails or an intranet or being able to post different materials, collateral, so that individuals understand what their choices are. I will say that the greatest success that we have seen has been during the time when you are onboarding new employees, because they're trying to figure out what they're going to do about parking or how they're going to commute to work. Once they've started coming to work, they've already figured that out. So they're developing those routines. We have a market where there's free parking, things are spread out. Our transportation system in terms of transit is not necessarily as robust as other markets. We heard from Tom when he's in the Bay Area. Public transportation is a big factor for people to be able to get around. However, congestion is so bad that employers are doing their own busing systems and making sure that they can get employees from point A to point B. We don't have that here. And when we look at the giant parking lots that we have, we don't have, I don't believe Geico is on our call today, but Geico is like, you know, it's a football field of parking. They don't have to pay for parking. In order to motivate them, it has to be a solution that is appropriate, like carpooling or vanpooling. So, and then the last and the big key is we also require our transportation coordinators to facilitate the annual employee survey. And that is where we spend a lot of time and energy, because that is how we collect data for trends and activities that are happening in our region. And there we have it in writing, our 4 deliverables. So when we end this presentation, if there's time, I can demonstrate or show you our website where we post many of our materials. Those are resources available, downloadable for anybody. And if there's ever a need that any transportation coordinator would need a particular something in a particular format, we have a communications team that can convert those. All it would need is an email so that we know what you need. So we want individuals to participate and come together so that they can bring change in our region. So we have congestion on our arterials because we don't have a crosstown freeway. However, we have longer commutes because people can live on the northwest side of town and be working at Amazon on the southeast part of town, or they are working in Midtown where we do have transit and there's a frequent transit network where they can potentially ride the bus to their place of employment. But they have to know about it. So we need to share that information so that they understand that carpooling is an option, or transit. There might be a bus stop that's near their home, and then they can jump on the bus and get to work. Oftentimes, with our weather that we have here, also biking to work is an option. And then the combination of using a bike and also using transit, because individuals who have bikes can also put their bikes on the front of the buses. But learning how to do that is important. If people don't come from a region or a market, or they didn't grow up riding or using public transportation, they need to be taught how to do it, because it can be a little bit intimidating. I, for one, when I went to Los Angeles, there are so many choices in the city of how to get around. It was overwhelming. And in one day, it was like, I can't figure that out. So I took an Uber. But the number of choices can be something that limits people from making the switch to an alt mode commute. Also, we do a lot of planning at PAG that we want to make our streets safe and be able to make it a comfortable choice for folks that are riding bicycles. At PAG and across the region, and in partnership with PDEQ, we hold different events where we give away bike lights, or we help people understand how they can use what is called the loop here in our region, where people can have that less stress bike route so that they can navigate and not compete for space on the roads with cars. So those are other options if you're an employer that is along the loop. And Karen, I'm going to just make a call out to you. You're still doing outreach to employers that are along the loop? Is Karen still there? Maybe not. Okay, we'll move on. Okay, so what is Sun Rideshare? So in this program, we have what is a commuter option and a commuter services sort of division of what we do. And then we have what we call TRP, which is the travel reduction program. But Sun Rideshare has its own website. It's a URL that you can direct anybody to that provides information about the different modes. We have been doing virtual outreach as of late because of the pandemic, but also we are here to help solve those problems for the employers that we work with. So this program, Sun Rideshare, and also the travel reduction program, is a partnership that we have with the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. And what we are able to do is work with them, and there's 2 other programs across the state, and they actually fund this program as well. And we share different solutions. We talk to other programs across the state and what are they doing. We look to others that have facilities in different regions to see what works, what doesn't. As an example, we have several employers that are they're in an environment where somebody is not necessarily tied to a desk. They might have a location where they clock in, and then they are working in a facility, manufacturing. They're not tied to an actual personal computer all day. So we've come up with, and we'll be launching a QR code poster or a flyer that people can put next to where the employees are clocking in or where their associates will pass by when they come in for their shift. And that way, with a smart device, they can pick up that QR code, much in the same way as during the pandemic, restaurants were doing for menus, so that it was touchless, so that they can pick up that link for the survey and put in their password and be able to take that survey. It's another solution that we're trying to work with different employers as a way to encourage participation in the survey and be able to connect for information about the program. On your screen, you should see that there are the different alt modes listed as well. So when we say carpool, vanpool, transit, transit right now is 100% free to everyone through June 30th. This has been true through the entire pandemic. As of right now, we don't know if our policymakers will continue that. If I was to bet, being from Las Vegas, I should. I would say they will probably extend that through the end of the year. Tom, because I can see your face, I'm going to pick. Are you free up there in the Bay Area?
We are not free, but the funny thing about it is on both Bay Area Rapid Transit BART and Caltrain, we're at pre-pandemic service levels. So even though we don't have everyone back in the office, because most of the tech companies are not back in the office, we're operating as if we do. We're probably at about 25% of pre-pandemic levels in terms of folks riding it. So
good to know. All right. So not free. Okay. So that's obviously a regional decision. It's all based on who has funding and what they want to put it with. So, okay. Thanks. All right. So our next move, I will point out in the lower right-hand corner, that is the login space where if people want to register as a commuter, they want to look at Sun Rideshare, they want to log their trips. Truth be told, we do not focus so much on that at this current time. We have upgraded the database and the commuter matching software in the last, I would say, 6 months. So in the new year, we'll be looking at that and how to support our commuters. Right now, the push has not been to put people in the same vehicle unless it's a van pool, and really has been a focus on telework and how people can navigate that. So, but we're seeing a turn, we're seeing the numbers change. So as we try and come out of the pandemic and we are navigating people coming back to the office, we'll see how that works. All right. So benefits, let's see. Benefits of sharing the ride. As we come out of the pandemic and as people are more comfortable being able to form carpools, we also know that those that participate in carpools are queued up and would be more apt to move to a van pool program, which we'll touch on. We're looking at, for employers, we have to have a benefit. So if we have 2 or more people in the car, it means that we're taking vehicles off the road. And when people share the ride, they can also save dollars in terms of gas, because gas keeps going up. That's a whole webinar in itself. But we want to be able to be conscious of those that are looking to monitor their own fiscal responsibilities. We have a AAA cost calculator on our website also, where individuals can plug in the type of vehicle, how many miles that they travel, and you can really see what does it cost for me to have my own car. Now, we mentioned before that we have free parking in Tucson, except for downtown, which I go into the office for downtown Tucson, and right now single lots are $5 a day. As people move to both a hybrid where they're working 2 or 3 days, and then with the parking garages, it's like, will they be able to offer a reduced parking pass? How would they do that? So those types of things are not in place yet, but with the pandemic and how we've really been able to shift through technology for people to work at home, all of those things will get navigated. I'm going to make a call out. Alex or Javier with the U of A, is there any discussion at your facility in terms of hybrid work schedules and the parking fees?
Mary, thanks for having us on. So we have noticed quite a bit of departments switching to more of a work from home model, a little bit of the hybrid, but it's kind of you're either here on campus or your department is operating you're able to work from home. And what's really neat is we looked at the Wi-Fi connections that people are coming onto campus and logging onto our network with personal devices, and analyzed what that looked like pre-pandemic and right now, and separated that out between students and staff. And what we found was our numbers for students are the same, but our staff members, we've lost about 2,000 people that are actually coming to campus and working. And that for us translates less parking permits. And so we have, so it's nice that they're working from home and less traffic congestion, but we are a self-supporting unit here in the university. So all of our funding comes from parking revenue, for the majority of it, but it's a pretty large chunk of that pie. And so then, we do have to look at getting creative and other ways to get some funding, because our wonderful alternative transportation programs are a big component of our expenses, because we're very fortunate that Jim, our executive director, and our campus leadership understands the importance of being sustainable and not having everybody drive to campus. And so we're kind of coming up to this fork in the road of, we need some parking revenue to come in, but we also need some, we want to continue to promote sustainable options and finding that balance. But the work from home, I think the university in the past has been supportive of that. Now it's really just ramped up to where whole departments are really looking at, do they need to be on campus to operate, and use the building spaces that they have. And so I see it. I don't see the work from home or the hybrid option going away anytime soon. And I think it might be more of a norm.
Well said. And for anybody who's in human resources or is trying to recruit additional staff, and I know like at the U of A, you have, I want to say isn't it like over 500 openings, maybe even more?
I don't know. There is quite a bit. I think every every which way is looking for, every department's looking for staff, or they're short staff, and everyone's trying to add more. So yes, we are definitely hiring.
Yeah, the U of A, a lot of our large employers are really strapped in terms of trying to onboard folks, and there's not a paragraph being written currently where workforce development is not part of that paragraph, because everybody is trying to retool, find additional people who can enter a particular industry. And with that, the hybrid option, if it is something that fits in that industry, is being used as a recruitment tool. With our technology or tech type positions, and especially when we're talking about those that are new to the workforce, I would say, if they don't get those quality of life choices, they'll walk across the street and work for somebody else. So Tom's saying absolutely. So it is now something to where we have been touting that TRP is a sustainability, feel good, healthy environment. It can improve your own health. But now it is about how do I recruit and retain the top talent for my organization. So that's a positive for the program, because it adds another benefit that we are able to share as far as TRP. So, but for individuals, they're saving money, they're saving time, they're able to earn more employer perks, potentially if they're making a choice for alt modes, they could have better parking. There are also some employers that can subsidize both bus passes or give incentives for making those types of choices. In many cases, if you're not the person driving and you can just relax and read or view your text messages, it's a way to capture that time. And time once spent, we can't get back. So anybody who knows how to generate more time, I'm all ears. So we'll go to our next slide. Oh, you want to make new friends. All right. So one of we're going to switch over to the choices of our alt modes. Pima Association of Governments is the resource for subsidies that, as we have van pools that operate in our region. We have a web page for van pools. We have a contractor for van pools. We work with Commute with Enterprise, and they they lease these vans. They're our partner. And with van pooling, there are 6 passengers, 1 driver. They're all new vehicles, and we are able to, as the subsidy provider, reduce the total cost of a monthly lease of a van pool. So van pools are a very efficient way for folks to come together and be able to share the cost and receive a federal subsidy. We often get the question of why can't we subsidize carpooling? And it is written by the IRS of why that is, because you have to have a commuter vehicle. There has to be a minimum of 6 passengers and a driver in a van, or in a vehicle, not necessarily a van, to be able to receive that subsidy. For federal employers receive a commuter benefit of $270 a month. And that is Border Patrol or others that are working for the federal government. That subsidy that they receive, it is part of their employee benefit package. So that's just the nature of that employment group. It becomes a bigger factor when we look at markets where you have a lot of federal employees and a lot of congestion. So they're able to spend those dollars either on van pools or transit or rail passes or what have you. Some employers, and we see this more often in Phoenix than we do here, they are also subsidizing the commute. So when they're able to pay for the bus pass or pay for the rail pass for that employer or that employee. Let's see, what else? Other notes about van pools is when the subsidy that we provide reduces the lease cost, they also share fuel costs, and they are required to do reporting. The reporting is through an app, and it's very easy. What we do is every October, we actually do a summary report through the FTA to take all the data from our van pools, put it through what I call the federal washing machine, and then that kicks back to our region as additional dollars that supports our transit system. And I could spend 2 hours or more on that, but it's a very painful process that I go through in October. But van pools, if you have a large number of employees that are working shift work that can be corralled together, and they can establish their rules of engagement and share a vehicle. They can either meet up at a particular place, park their vehicles, get in a car, a van, and make it to their employment site, or they can establish that they go around and pick up the additional passengers. That is based on the van pool and what they decide. We have several van pools that go out to the Indian reservations. We also have some that start in Pima County and end up in a different region. So there are long hauls that go from, say, Oro Valley in our region up to Pinal County. We have a van pool that runs that direction. We're also working to try and get some that start here and go out to Fort Huachuca. So if you have a need or want to have a conversation, you can contact me, and then we can bring in Commute with Enterprise staffing that explains how that all works. And they do a bid, and they tell you what the price would be, and then work with those particular individuals. Flexible work schedules. Alex, as you were describing what's happening at the U of A, this might be an option as you look at that hybrid model, that maybe they could work 4/10s, or they can make it so that people only work from home on one day when you're looking at those traffic patterns. As you come out of the U of A at 4:30, 5 o'clock, we all know that everybody's getting off at the same time, because getting near that part of Midtown Tucson, it makes it really difficult. But those flexible work schedules allows people to manage their own lives and also reduce congestion around a particular facility as well. So that can be a compressed work week. We see that with Raytheon. Raytheon will do the 980s where they have Fridays off. And if you're in that part of town, at least where we are, you always know it must be a Friday off, because all their parking lots are empty. So that is an option. When we look at, let's see, I think I went ahead. I'm sorry. I missed something here. My apologies. So we should see right now what you're at Drive Less and Save Big. I mentioned earlier that we have a AAA cost calculator on our website. When you plug in an average person who switches to public transportation, we quote that you can save $10,064 a year. And that's a total cost based on gas prices and different things like that. So it's factors. Now, people's lifestyle will not always dictate that they can choose alt modes every single day of the week. They might be dropping off kids, they might be caring for somebody, going to doctor's appointments, different things. But if you can encourage staff and encourage people that are part of your organization to just eliminate one day of travel, that can also generate savings. It's being able to stick your toe into the water and say, does alt modes work for me? And how would it help me or improve my quality of life if I'm going to make those choices? Certainly in the middle of summer in Tucson, riding your bike to work does not sound like a good idea. It's too hot unless you go to work really, really early. But being able to look at health benefits and less stress and what it looks like if you're sharing the ride with your fellow workers, being able to carpool, those are all these different choices that we want people to consider and see how it works into their world. And the hook is often because they can save money, but the benefits can be very specific based on the choices that they make, and then also what is it that they're trying to achieve in their own, managing their own world. So we quoted the $10,000, but $5,000 a year is an average through the AAA. And then the extra time We always say we want to make more time. And then also when we talk about losing weight, especially at the beginning of the year after the holidays, one of the statistics that has been touted is that you can lose an average of 13 pounds in the first year if you're choosing alt modes. Oftentimes up in Phoenix, they'll talk about the rail diet because they have a rail system. And if you have to take rail to your place of employment and then you have to walk to get to your office, that means that people are moving their bodies and they're able to drop weight. It's all about being active. We had a kind of a decade there where there was a lot of wellness committees or employers were focusing on that. I would imagine as we come out of the pandemic, we will see more of that because we want to make sure people are well so that they can come to work. We've probably shifted into a place where the awareness of you can't just say you have allergies and you're in the office, because if you're hacking or sneezing, nobody's going to want you around. So mask or not. So, and we want to be sensitive also to the cleaner air and how that will help those in terms of wellness. We have people who have respiratory challenges, COPD, asthma. Anybody who's ever witnessed someone having an asthma attack, breathing is a life function. And when we have poor air quality, it really does affect those that are compromised with their respiratory systems. All right, moving on. How travel reduction helps employers, because that's why you're here. You want to know, what does this do for you? How's this going to make what you do better, right? So reducing employee travel time, whether that's through telework or you're able to shorten the distance between A and B. It's less strain on parking lots. If you have a customer base and you want to be able to free up those parking spaces so that your clients, customers, and patients want to be able to park in those primary spots, it will reduce the number of cars that you have to park in your parking lot. In our region, as an example, Geico built this massive building and has a huge parking lot because when they were over on the east side, they were considered a difficult neighbor because they had so many employees, they would chew up all the parking spots in the business centers that they were leasing. So we do understand that most of the parking in our region is free, not at the U of A, right, Alex? But that it is also a consideration when you're trying to manage parking lot space. When we had the previous slide, we talked about it being a recruiting tool. And I think truly as we come out of the pandemic, that will be even more. So how does travel reduction help our community? Obviously, we talked about less congestion, less traffic. We have modelers at Pima Association of Governments that take all the data and look at what has changed, what are the trends. And last year in September, we did an evaluation of traffic patterns, and certainly we grabbed data from Google Analytics as well. But in the pandemic, the traffic shifted to neighborhoods. And, you know, kind of the comment was, well, that must be all the Amazon vans that are going through the neighborhoods. But not necessarily. It just meant people weren't going to specific sites. They were increasing the number of trips to retail centers, medical centers, but that the switchover was, yeah, more traffic in our neighborhood areas. Better air quality, we talked about that. Preservation of roadway infrastructure. There's a lot of money coming through the new legislation that we're going to be looking at a lot of road projects and addressing bridges and different things like that. Certainly, if we don't use the roads as much, then they last longer. We know, especially in Midtown Tucson or in the city limits, we have work to do here in Tucson to upgrade our roads. So safer streets is also a consideration, so that when there's less cars on the road, especially as we're talking about as the little ones are going to school, going through the neighborhoods, we want to make sure that those kids are safe. So slowing it down and making sure that the number of cars on the road are, it's not crazy busy, I guess is the way to say it. So we're going to move over to our employee survey. another one of our requirements. Most of the folks on this call, I would imagine, have at least had exposure to our survey website. This is one of our big focus areas where we spend a lot of time and energy. We have the online portal, and we strongly encourage that everybody uses the online portal for the survey. Every location has its own unique password, and 2 weeks prior to when an organization is going to survey, they receive a notice. A week out, they receive a notice. And then the idea is that in a 30-day period, employees can be encouraged to participate. It's only 10 questions. And at the end of that 30 days, you achieve above a 50% minimum participation rate, and it's a done deal. Through the pandemic, we have learned and had to work with our employers to grant extensions. We hope as we come out of the pandemic, we can return back to a 30-day window. The reason that we really push hard for the 50% or better response is so that the data is statistically significant. We've had to have a little bit of empathy for many of our different industries because of both the pandemic pivot that they've had to make. Also, there have been other operational priorities established by leadership where they are just trying to juggle based on the number of employees they have. We know that business has not been as business as usual because of all the different policies and procedures that have had to be put in place in order to navigate through the pandemic and keep business operations going. So all that being said, we still have to have everybody take the survey. So we've had a couple of employers that have really lagged behind, and we've partnered with PDEQ to try and wrap around them and try and help them. And we've been successful to get them to be compliant. Because at the end of the day, this program has an ordinance, and the ordinance says, thou shalt do this. We don't want to beat people over the head with the policy club. We want to try and navigate this and be as flexible as possible. So, all right, that being said, what you see on the right-hand side, the survey itself, that's the landing page. And then the middle section where it says enter the passcode there, that is where individuals are able to put in their password. For this function, we are able to also provide a list of employee names if an employer wants their staff to put their name in at the end of completing the survey, such that if an employer wants to incentivize and do drawings or things like that. If you want that type of coding at the end of your survey, you just need to send me an email and we can get you set up. So survey data, why do we spend so much time and effort on this survey? Well, I mentioned that we have PAG modelers. Our PAG modelers use all this information to look at trends and what are the commute patterns in our region. And if you think about it, when we're doing transportation planning or community planning, you're not planning for next year. You're planning for 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Where do roads need to be? What are the different safety measures that need to be taken when they're building those roads? So the data will show us where people live and where opportunities are. And then as a end report, we're able to calculate emissions reductions for that location and also provide a set of metrics that will show of your population, of your set of associates or staff, who is using transportation choices such as transit or biking or carpooling. And then at the end of it, we have a heat map that based on what your location is, we can look at where individuals are coming to and from within the region and help you to navigate what are the alt mode choices for your staff. I'll mention that Amazon, when they surveyed for the first time in March of last year, we were able to see they have employees coming from all over, quite the long distances. And there might be some choices that would benefit them in terms of trying to get those individuals to move across town and show up at their site on the southeast part of town. So alt modes can be a benefit and a tool so that you're supporting your different employees that are coming from different parts of town. So the survey, because data don't lie, right? Numbers don't lie. We're able to capture all that information and then distill it down so that it's in the final report. So regional planning, that's what we're all about. That's what we're able to provide to our policymakers and also those that are navigating and planning for transportation projects. So one of the two surveys we do in the year is called the Activity Inventory Report. This is another survey, but this is something that only the TC will complete. And we send it out. It's all electronic. We've made it so that it's an online platform. The access is through an email address of the TC. We'll be sending those out in mid-March that, hey, we're going to be doing the air survey. Please get prepared. The one magic question of the air survey that seems to trip everybody up is how many employees do you have and how many FTEs you have. The default is you cannot have more FTEs than you have employees. And we have put in a pop-up window in the air survey that helps people it's a formula so that you can calculate that. But anybody who is in the position of TC that will have to complete it now, you can connect with your finance department, connect with your payroll processors. These are the folks that have the answers to that question. It's number of employees, number of FTEs. The activity inventory report is done every year because we want to look at what are the employee travel habits. We also look at what are the different efforts that you're doing at your site and who are the contacts for your site. Do you have bike racks? Are you offering incentives? Different things like that. That serves as your annual plan. And then we look at, based on the information we get from that activity, it's what are the things that employers are doing? Are they supporting their employees? I would believe that as we move out of the pandemic and we talked about workforce development, we might see a shift or a change in terms of the different choices that employers are offering. All right. Currently, it is 16 questions. When you do receive this, it will not take you very long to fill it out. It's just that one question I spoke of about how many employees and how many FTEs. That is the one that seems to take a little while. All right. How to promote Sunride Share. We have posters, articles we post on Facebook. We also have a TRP employer map that if you wanted to post that in a particular place. Again, it depends on your facility, if you have people working in the office or not. And these are all available on our PAG website. You can navigate there through Sunride Share or also through pagregion.com. As you have staff or department meetings also, I'm available. I can do a virtual in the coming months. Potentially there is opportunities if there's going to be on-site meetings, I would be available for that. But to help people understand, why do we have this program? Why is it important? How does that translate? We've mentioned that workforce development and using TRP and the alt modes and the hybrid work schedules as a recruitment tool, but also as we look at sustainability reporting. When you have large organizations, they're interested in how do they report that, generate goodwill. If there are any type of reporting that you're doing as an organization, the final report from the survey is something that can absolutely be woven into that. So sharing the information, whether you're able to email blast out to folks or post in an area where employees are, that is really going to need to be tailored to how you communicate with your different employee sets. somebody like Tom, what is it called? Slack? You have an internal email system.
Oh, Slack. Yeah.
Slack.
It's kind of like an instant messenger is what it is. But you could set it up around groups and it works wonderfully. I'm sure a lot of folks on the call have it too as well.
Yeah, the technology solutions for how we communicate with people or how they're able to share information. It's remarkable that even some of our super large employers, and I would say I'll lean into the retail setting as the ones that are truly challenged, like they still have notebooks next to cashier stations as a way to insert a flyer that somebody can look at. And they too are trying to figure out ways that is the best to communicate with their associates. For anybody on this call or any TC that's part of the program, we're always interested in hearing from you. We have a communications department that if you want to share your story or if you're interested in being part of one of our newsletters because something you've done is really working at your site, we would love to hear from you. We talked about hosting staff department meetings. There's always the option if you want to have travel reduction incentives, if there's maybe an opportunity, because for example, in April, it's Earth Day. And as organizations embrace or celebrate different ways to make it a better community, or they want to have a bike to work day, anything like that, you can engage with us and we'll do our best to support you in those efforts. When we look at employee recognition, that's also depending on the culture of your own organization. It might be a way to give a special parking spot, or you want to look at somebody who has improved their health because they're biking to work, or they're building that connection with other employees because they're carpooling. There's different ways to look at and serve that up so that people can feel special about the good choices that they're making. All right, moving on. We're getting through this, folks. Recognition, we every month, we summarize the performance metrics of all of our employers, and then we look at if they've reached a minimum of a 50% response rate, they can be considered for 3 levels. It's bronze, silver, and gold. If they meet the 50% mark, then we look at, did they meet their TRO goal, which is what percentage of their total population is using alt modes. Also, if you have a 2% increase over the previous year over alt modes, that is a way to achieve one of the goals. Oops, back up. I apologize. Hit the wrong button, folks. The other one is if you reach 60% response rate. So when we look at recognition and we post how people have done, we automatically have a dynamic web page where those results are put on our website. And then also those that reach those 3 different levels, we mail out certificates to the TCs for the year. So ways that you can help. I heard that there was a fluctuation in one of our employers as we first started here, that the number of employees has gone up or down. All you have to do is send me an email and I can update that. We track for other purposes, also for regional planning, we track all the different employers and how many employees are at each location. There's also a statewide employment viewer for that type of information. We have an individual that tracks that. And then we compare against our TRP numbers. So please keep us updated. Tell us about changes that are happening. One of the things that we have seen, especially with our call centers, is they've sent 90% of their people home permanently. So we've had examples of Coventry, OptumRx, they've gone from huge footprints of a large facility, and now they're in 5,000 square feet or less. And the reason that they have an office is to receive mail and provide a space for those that may not have internet for a short period of time, or it's their training facility. So if your organization is changing or you're implementing a new type of policy that is going to affect how many people are in the office or what your model is going to be, please share those with us. That's really useful and helpful. And it also may be a model that someone else is struggling and could use. So we don't have to continually reinvent the wheel. And then we also ask that you share the information that's related to alt modes and this program with employees more than just right before your survey. The idea is that you're communicating throughout the year about what is happening and what the choices might be. And if you have other types of programs, whether it's wellness, focus on sustainability, you're trying to create more space in your parking lots. If there are other initiatives that you as an employer are trying to launch or support, there could be ways to where TRP can be woven into that as an additional element. So please reach out to us and please connect with us so that we can work with you on those different initiatives. And the sharing information with employees, I can't emphasize that enough. It's very hard to get excited about something that you don't know about. As an example, the fact that public transportation is entirely free to everybody right now. And that means that when you are considering, even for yourself, if you're downtown right now and you want to ride the streetcar, it's free. So make people share on your own social media. You can send out an email and link to suntran.com, because all the schedules and the verification that it is free is out there. Because sometimes when you tell people stuff is free, they don't believe you. But especially if it's related to a public service. So, and then our resources, I touched on that we have different postings on our website. We also have our TRP task force meeting that NETC is welcome to attend. You'll receive emails of when those happen. We have them twice a year. And our next one will be probably in May or June. Generally, we have one also in November. But I would invite you to get on our website, look at the different posters and such. And if you have ideas for things, please share those with us, because we create these in-house. I can't say that I can promise that you'll get what you ask for, but potentially we might have other things going on. We can direct you. But if you have a unique idea, we want to hear from you. We might be able to implement that. So let's see. RTA mobility, for those of you who are just learning about PAG, the RTA is a voter initiative, and it also resides as part of the umbrella of the Pima Association of Governments. The RTA is the Regional Transportation Authority. When you think about buses that are running past 5 o'clock at night, the revenue that's generated by the RTA helps pay for those types of services. Also, when you think about mobile meals through Pima Council on Aging, RTA helps subsidize those. And it is a very big deal. And we are working on RTA Next even now through Pima Association of Governments. And you'll probably see some information come through your emails and newsletters, where as we work to prepare for the next RTA voter initiative, it's important for everybody to understand and know what that is. So it brings a significant amount of money to our region to help with transportation projects, and it really helps us be a better community. So more on that later, but there is a website also. So it's pagregion.com and then rtamobility.com. Let's see. I think we're close to wrapping up, folks. There we are. There's my digits. On my email signature, you can also see my cell phone, because I do work from home. Starting in March, I'll be 2 days in the office and 3 days at home. And maybe we'll graduate to 3 days in the office. We'll see. So I'm a resource to you. I also have a colleague, Melissa Meinrich, who's available in my absence or also as a supporter of this program. So we are available. Reach out to us and we want to be able to support you. We really appreciate all the support and the participation in TRP. It is an important factor and we want to make sure that our environment, our community is the best we can make it. So we need our big employers, our major employers to help us with that. And with that, I will stop sharing and take any questions. We're right at 10:06. So there's Karen. Hello. I can't hear you. Can't hear you. You're not muted, but I can't hear you. You want to try again? Nope, can't hear you. I apologize. Anybody else?
Hi, Mary. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hello, Fernando.
Hi. I just wanted to make sure, do you got all our emails and would you be sharing those slides, specifically for your information and information on websites as far as resources?
We absolutely can do that. Anybody who has registered today, we would be able to send out to that list. Certainly. It is a very large PDF. And there's no problem sharing it. It's created by your public dollars.
Or maybe even just, that last slide where it had your contact information and maybe the website. That'd be great.
Well, and since we have just a couple minutes, what I will do through the magic of technology, I will share my screen. So this is our PAG website. Can anybody see that? Give a shout out. Good. Okay. So through the mobility or through the sustainability, you can navigate to information that is relevant to our program. So you have commuter services, which takes you to the Sun rideshare. And then we talked about that commute cost calculator. Also mode choices when we talk about alt modes, and then also travel reduction. As a way to just demonstrate, I'm going to say the alternative modes one. It'll take you through what benefits, different alt modes. You can click here. And then also when we talk about van pools, car pools, when you go to van pools, the lease rates. Maybe it's loading. There we go. So when we have van pools, when we talk about, well, how much does it cost to have a van pool? It's all based on mileage. And in the next year, they will be adjusting those rates. What we provide as subsidies is 0 to 3,000 miles, you get $300. 3,000 to 4,000 miles is $400, and then greater than that is $500 a month. For more information, contact me and we can set up a meeting. Okay, so oops, we go back to transit choices, and then at the top here where it says sustainability and you go to travel reduction, that is also another path to get to information about our different resources. Right up here in the middle of the screen, the employer resources. This is where we post all the fact sheets and the posters and things that are downloadable, videos, different things like that. And you can embed that in your intranet. You can include it in newsletters, different things like that. But yeah, through those that have registered today, we can certainly send out information. So we're right at 10:10. anybody else have more questions?
Hey, Mary, can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, yay. So this is Karen with DEQ. Can I take a minute to announce a couple of events that are coming up?
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
Cool. So on March 27th, the Living Streets Alliance is hosting Ciclovia. It's downtown to South Tucson, biking, walking, they close off the street. So that'd be a cool, very cool event to promote to employees. In April, we're the Clean Air program with DEQ. We're going to be hosting a This is Clean Air challenge. And we're asking people to submit 7-word stories of their alternate mode commute. So be on the lookout for that announcement, and please do promote it to your employees. Mary also mentioned Earth Day. That's on April 23rd. Well, 22nd is Earth Day, but the 23rd is the Earth Day Festival downtown with the Children's Museum. Oh, and then May 5th, it's a Thursday, downtown at the Public Works Building, we're going to be hosting with Suntran a lunchtime transit workshop. So anyone in the downtown area is welcome to come. That's it. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Thank you, Karen.
Mhm.
Yes, Karen is with Pima County. So if any of you, when you struggle because you have several hundred employees and you're trying to get them to respond to a survey, Karen has, 7,000 plus employees she tries to get to respond to the survey every year. So it's all relative, right? So, okay, guys, I'm gonna make sure everybody is wrapped up by 10:15. I really appreciate your time and attention today to listen. Oh, I see, I'm sorry, one more hand up. Go ahead, Dee.
Hey, Mary, Desikan here. A quick question. Is there a deadline for requesting to include that software code to have the employee name on the survey?
No, you are going to survey in March, I believe.
Yep.
So we're right in the middle. No, if you would, I guess the question is if it's a yes, then just send me an email and my developer can add that.
Gotcha. I have a meeting with the team next week, so I will know if we want to go that route, if it's not already decided. And then I'll
Excellent.
get back to you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes. Yeah, because you have the option to incentivize them. I would imagine you give them Amazon gift cards.
Yep.
For everybody on the call, Dee is reaching out to us. He lives up in Denver. He is connected to Amazon. He has just joined us as a new contact. And he is focused on sustainability. I had a lovely conversation with him last week. Was it last week? Might have been week before that.
It was last week.
Time's flying, man. So awesome. Thank you, everybody. It is 10:14. We will call it a wrap. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And if you live here in the region, it's going to be beautiful, beautiful weather. So